Well, I regret to inform you, my friends, that the nurses are at it again. We all remember the COVID days when nurses across the country were posting choreographed dance routines to TikTok, constantly complaining about being overworked and understaffed, even as they turned the hospital's hallways into a scene from High School Musical. It was annoying, it was insufferable, and it exposed a troubling weakness in the nursing community. That is, their need for attention, which is, of course, a weakness shared by almost everyone in our culture. Among nurses, it was put on display yet again with a slightly different style of video this week. NBC News reports 4 labor and delivery nurses at an Atlanta hospital came under fire over a TikTok video in which they shared the things that annoy them about expecting mothers and their families. The nurses at Emory University Hospital Midtown were participating in a popular trend where users share their icks or turnoffs about a person. The TikTok trend originally began as a way for someone to describe why they stopped dating another person. I can already tell you one of my icks, which is people using the term ick to describe their pet peeves. I know this might come as a shock to TikTok users, but we actually don't need a cutesy new slang term for everything. Now, I realize that every generation is entitled to come up with its own slang, but this latest generation has grossly abused that privilege. There should be laws governing this. Like if I was theocratic fascist dictator, I would allow maybe 3 new slang terms to enter the lexicon every 25 years. Each generation gets to pick 3. Not 3 in a week, but 3 total. In any case, bringing it back to the nurses, not to jump ahead and spoil the ending, but according to NBC, it would seem that they have been fired. It says, quote, Emory Healthcare said the video is disrespectful and unprofessional and does not represent our commitment to patient, family-centered care. We've investigated the situation, taken appropriate action with the former employees responsible for the video, the company said in an Instagram post. So, former employees. The hospital never specifically confirmed that they were terminated for the video, but I think we can logically assume that they didn't all happen to retire suddenly at the same time. So it appears, therefore, that this video was a bad idea. Here it is.
My ick is when you come in for your induction talking about, can I take a shower and eat?
What? My ick is when you ask me how much the baby weighs, and it's still in your hands.
Dad comes outside and asks for a paternity test right outside the room door.
Saying you don't want any pain medicine, no epidural, but you are at an 8 out of 10 pain with just a Cervidil, and you're still closed, fingertip.
When we've already told you to push the call light, but every 5 minutes, your family member coming at the front desk,
Can I have some water?
asking for something else.
Excuse me, can I have a blanket?
Another ick, when you're going room to room between one baby mama and your other baby mama.
Oh, no.
Ick.
Say that. It's the unlimited trips to the nurse's station for me.
Well, ladies, the good news is that you don't have to worry about any of those icks anymore. The bad news is that you're going to discover a new ick, which is called unemployment. Don't be distracted by parties and presents this holiday season. Instead, join Hallow's most anticipated prayer challenge of the year, Pray 25. Led by cast members from The Chosen, the largest Christian streaming series in history, Pray 25 will guide you through meditation and prayer for 25 days leading up to Christmas. Pray 25 will help grow your understanding of mankind and develop a disciplined prayer habit during a season when discipline can be really put to the test. Hallow is the #1 Christian prayer app in the U.S. and the #1 Catholic app in the world. Hallow helps me make prayer a priority, and with Pray 25, it can do the same for you. Find peace and fortify your faith this Christmas with Hallow. Download the app for free. Join the Pray 25 challenge. All you got to do is go to hallow.com/Matt Walsh and get 3 months completely free. That's hallow.com/Matt Walsh to reclaim your peace during this holiday season. Well, I can understand why you were so frustrated. I mean, it must be difficult when your patients are a bunch of domineering prima donnas, constantly making outrageous and haughty demands for exorbitant luxuries like food and blankets. Next thing I know, you're going to tell me that they even sometimes request anesthesia before surgery. I mean, these are divas we're talking about. Now, I admit, there might be something to some of the complaints they lodge in that video. It wasn't all unreasonable. I would also be annoyed and kind of grossed out by a man who has 2 children being born by 2 different women in the same birthing unit, though that sounds more like the plot of a 90s comedy starring Eddie Murphy than an actual real-life event. Be that as it may, some of the complaints seem valid. And I'm sure there are plenty of nurses out there who could make many other complaints, even more valid and defensible than the icks these ones outlined. In fact, I know they could because I have nurses in my family and I've heard the stories. But there are 2 points that these ill-fated TikTokers failed to understand. And these are lessons that all of us, no matter our careers, would do well to keep in mind. First, you go into the same job every day, okay? You have helped hundreds of patients, if that's your job. So you have been asked for blankets and food hundreds of times. And every slightly annoying or silly or thoughtless thing a patient might say or do, you've encountered dozens and dozens of times. So you feel the cumulative effect of all of those little annoyances. But your patients don't. So this is a job to you. This is something that you punch in and punch out of every day. But if you work in the labor and delivery unit, for many of your patients, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. On average these days, it's not any more than a twice-in-a-lifetime experience. Nobody is in there having a new baby every 3 days, unless it's my wife we're talking about. This is always the tension between employee and customer, employee and client, employee and patient. You're both involved in the same experience, but the experience is fundamentally different for both of you because of your roles. For you, it's a job, but not for them. So part of your job then is to not bring your weariness and annoyance into the experience. Yes, you've been asked for 1 million blankets, yet the patient asking you for a blanket right now isn't cognizant about that or thinking about it and shouldn't have to. You should treat the patient like their needs are the most important thing to you, and then treat the next patient exactly the same, because that's what you're being paid to do. And it's difficult, but that's what you're supposed to do, no matter what your job is. You're running a cash register at McDonald's. Each customer who comes in, you know, the number one value meal, you've punched that in 1,000 times. But this should be you should act like this is the most important thing in the world to you, getting this person their Big Mac. Yeah, you're faking it, but that's your job, is to fake it. Second, everybody complains. Okay, there's no sense in complaining about the fact that people complain. People complain about their jobs, about their families, about their personal struggles, their health problems, etc. Everyone has complained about all of these things. But what people seem to not understand these days is that there is a proper time and place for these complaints, and there are improper times and places. There are appropriate forums and inappropriate forums. There are people in your life who you can and should register these complaints with, and people you shouldn't. And making a complaint publicly on video for the entire world to see is very rarely the correct time, place, forum, or audience. Generally, you should be complaining to someone who, A, can actively do something to solve whatever problem you're having, or B, is a trusted confidant who can listen and provide you with meaningful support. So if your complaint is something that nobody can reasonably solve, and it's not serious enough to warrant a consultation with a trusted confidant, it's probably best if you just keep it to yourself. Because stifling a complaint, telling it to no one ever, is also an option, and one that should be selected far more often than it is. When it comes to complaints about your job, just like complaints about your family, a great majority of them will fall into this last category. Like, they're complaints that you should just never tell anyone. If you could believe it, there should be a whole list of complaints that you have about people in your family, about your job, that you never tell anyone. Because there is no one in your life who needs to hear all of that, or should have to. Grin and bear it. And the rest should be articulated to the appropriate party within your family or your job. They should almost never be aired in public for the entire world to hear, because the public can't do anything with your gripe. We can't solve your issue for you. We don't know you. We aren't your friend, so we also can't act as your trusted confidant. All we can do is listen to your whines and think to ourselves, wow, I wish this person would stop whining. That's all we can do with it. And then we get back to our own lives and our own petty annoyances. Whatever you were hoping to get out of the public airing of your grievances, you almost certainly will not get. Unless in these nurses' cases, they were hoping to get fired, in which case, mission accomplished. And not to add insult to injury, but I must also say that along with being fired, they are today, needless to say, canceled. And that'll do it for this portion of the show as we move over to the members block. Hope to see you there. If not, talk to you tomorrow. Godspeed.